All right, welcome to the first edition of Modern Horror Weekend. We have My Soul to Take, written and directed by Wes Craven. And another take for this movie, but I actually really like it. The story of this film is 16 years prior to the events of this film, Abel Plankoff finds out he is the Riverton Ripper, a serial killer that had murdered 7 people. I think it's like 6 people before this, but and he has multiple personalities, or what could also be multiple souls in the Haitian lore. That night, there's an altercation with the cops. He maybe dies. We still don't really know. And the 7 babies are born, all premature, all on the same night. 16 years later, the Ripper is back, and he is taking out these kids one by one on their 16th birthday, no less. And is it the real Ripper, or is it one of them? Okay, so first and foremost, give my backstory on this film. Okay, so once upon a time ago, we used to have this pawn shop in town. It was downtown. It was in the middle of downtown at one point, and then it moved over on the side of downtown. We used to have it down there. It's not there anymore. When the pandemic started, they closed up shop, but unfortunately, I used to get a lot of movies in there. That's when I really started going to eBay. Once that happened, I'm like, I can't get older movies from there, because I used to get a lot of older movies from there. Like one time I went there and I got big horror, big stack of horror movies from there. I was so happy. I wanted to grow my horror collection, and I did. And I went there that day with the intent of buying horror movies, and that's what I found. And one of them was this movie, My Soul to Take, and I didn't even know what it was. Never heard of it. All it took was from the writer and director. I went on Elm Street, Last House on the Left, and I went, "Is this what Wes Craven?" Yep, I'm getting that. That's all it took. Wes Craven is that up there for me. As horror directors go, you got John Carpenter, Wes Craven, put James Wan in there, and I'll even add Tobe Hooper and Tom Holland as the 5 big horror directors for me personally. You could put some others in there, I guess. Sean Cunningham, Tom Savini's directed some. Don't know if they'd be big enough. George Romero, you could put him in there. Haven't watched all of those yet. I've only seen the first one, Night of the Living Dead. So who knows? Wes Craven is up there for me, especially since I'm a big Freddy guy. It's my first franchise I ever bought. So first horror box set. So yeah, I grabbed this, and it's even the concept of the story. Like I told you, it's very interesting, and I don't hate this movie. Like I said, there are some problems I noticed, especially watching this time. But, like, for instance, we don't really get to know the characters in this. Like, yeah, we get the exposition, these 7 kids, and everything. But the idea that one of them could be the killer is introduced so late into the film that there's only a few people it could be if that is the case. Like, by the time that's introduced, there are 3 of the Riverton 7 left, and one of them is blind. And so it's like, okay, it's going to be either those 2 or it's the real Abel Plankoff come back to get revenge. And, of course, there's a lot of hinting, a lot of pointing towards Bug. And it's one of those cases where it's just too much, and it can't be him. Like, I think what Wes Craven did when he did the script is, because there was a time that it really pointed towards him. Like, he go. Okay, so story here is that. Okay, I gotta get to the point here. Emma Plankoff, I mentioned that. He's with his wife who's pregnant. They have another daughter named Leah, or they have another kid, a daughter named Leah, and he's watching this news story about the Riverton Ripper. Fear ye the Ripper. And they're talking about the knife that he uses. Somehow they have a picture of it, and then he happens to find that knife under his workbench, where he realizes that one of his multiple personalities that he has is the Ripper. And we don't really get to know anything about these personalities. And they have names, but you only know them, really, if you have the subtitles on, like I do. I think they mention them maybe a couple times, but you don't really know what the personalities' names are. I think they're like Brad and Molly? I don't know. But he the Ripper takes over, he wakes up, he's somewhere else, and, the Ripper threatens him, hey, you call the cops, or you call the doctor, I kill your wife. So, of course, he calls the doctor, and he's like, you need to tell your wife to take Leah and go to your sister's, and he's like, well, she's sound asleep, and then he looks at, oh, she's been stabbed, and she's dead, but the baby's still alive in there. And he's one of the 7, right? And they try to point the finger at what it is, and it starts with this. The daughter goes, get away from me. So maybe you're supposed to think it's her. But this is followed by an ambulance scene where the Ripper then wakes up inside of Plankoff still, freaking out, nuts, and we never find out what happens to him because he disappears. Because there's a crash, and when they go, and the cops, finally come to and everything, he's gone, and there's just a bloody stretcher. And no one knows what happened to him, and it's never brought up. I think maybe Craven forgot about that little plot point because it's never brought up. They never say, whoever the killer ends up being, I don't want to say who it was yet, had the body stashed somewhere. No, it's just disappeared. You could say maybe he tried to get away and drowned in the river and they never found his body, but that never comes up. That never comes up, and it's So now it's 16 years later, and they celebrate like they do every year. And we meet our characters. The Riverton 7 are Brandon O'Neill. I'm not gonna tell you all names. Brandon, Brittany, Jay, Penelope, Jerome, Alex, and our main character Bug, whose real name is Adam. But yes, and they have a tradition I don't know how think it's been for 16 years, ever since they've been able to do things. They say that each one of them has had a turn, so I guess it's been 7 years since they've been doing this now, since it's now Bug's turn. They've each done it, so how Jerome was able to do it, I don't know, but I guess he's done it. But they gotta face off. One of them has to face off against the Ripper and send him away, or the Ripper will kill them. So is it because Bug doesn't do it that the Ripper comes out? Because there is no real reason why after 16 years it comes out. They mention something like, oh hey, you're 16, you're now officially a man or something, but it doesn't. 18 could have made more sense. Also, I'd like to know. Oh, I have to reveal something, but it is revealed that Bug is the baby from the beginning, and the little girl is Fang or Leia. Leia, the sister. She's the goth girl. there. Who has like a clique that she's one of the popular kids, even though she's just as a goth. I've never seen anywhere where a goth person was one of the popular people. She looks goth anyway. I don't know, but it's revealed that they're the kids from the beginning. And then I have a question: how old is Leia supposed to be? Because she's still in high school, so she can only be at least 2 years older than Bug, right? Like she's like 18. Maybe 19 if she was held back, and being that she's a troubled youth, maybe she was held back. But I don't know. She should be older. But the thing is, the girl at the beginning looked older than 2. She was at least 4, maybe 5. She looked older than 2. That wasn't no toddler. I don't know. It's really weird. Unless she was held back. But they never explained that. They're living with their Aunt May. I just got that. Wait a minute. Wait, Wes. I know you up there in heaven right now, but Aunt May? Really? Bug thinks that it's her real mom, but it's his real mom, but And she's played by Ann Dudek, which you may know. Is it Ann? No, not Ann Dudek. It's the lesbian chick from Friends. Not Ross's wife, but her girlfriend. It's not Ann Dudek. I don't know why I think of that. It's I don't know her name off the top of my head, but she's the Susan. Susan from Friends. Yeah, her. Not Ann Dudek. Or an actress. But she's the surrogate mom, I guess. And then we get to kind of a problem with this film, and that's the pacing. I think it goes too fast. Like I said, we don't get to know really any of the characters. We know that Brandon is a bully. We know that Fang is organizing this bullying. We know that Brittany is friends with her, but also might have a thing for Buck. And there's also another African American girl who is going out with Jerome ? But she disappears after the meeting in the bathroom. So I don't know. We know that Jay likes to make things, but he's the first one that's killed, so we don't really get anything from that. Also, much like Wes Craven taking Aunt May from Marvel, he stole something from Joe Zito. Joe Zito? No, not Joe Zito. Whoever directed Nightmare on Elm Street 4. Rennie Harlan. He took something from Rennie Harlan. Because this whole thing with each one of them dies, their soul goes into Bug. Much like his father. They're all going back to the source, basically. But, yeah, that's kind of like either like Alice taking the souls of her friends in Dream Master. So, a little bit of a Freddy thing in there. But yeah, Jay's the first one to go. We don't really know anything about him other than he loves to make things. And that's so we can try to figure out the next day when Bug makes this big thing. Even though he's not mechanically inclined, he makes this big condor thing. We put 2 and 2 together. Oh, he's kind of taking his soul. Okay. And that's supposed to also lead us into, oh, he's the Ripper because he's killing them and taking their souls. Here's the weird thing. There's a scene where before anyone else is killed, he's out there, like he has this mocking thing, and he's out there in the quad or whatever it is, mocking them, talking like that, and it's like, wait, why is he already talking about them if he hasn't absorbed them yet? Like he has a mimic thing, or maybe their souls were always with him? I don't know. It's really weird. I don't understand it. Penelope's the next one to go. Murdered by the Ripper in the the pool area where she's praying with the principal's daughter, who was knocked up by Brandon. That plot goes nowhere. And then we see Brandon chasing after Brittany for a blowjob. And then, they're chasing after. He's chasing after her for no reason. She finds Penelope's body in the woods. And this whole time, we see that Bug was in the woods. Bug went to a meeting with the principal because he was in the girls' bathroom and they were spying. They were using his cell phone that he just got to spy on the girls. And when he went in to get it, he fell down. But Brittany left her purse. And she found him and he got in trouble. And so while May was talking to the principal, he left. And we're supposed to believe he's the one killing because we see him going to the woods at some point where Brittany and Brandon are both murdered at this point. And like I said, this happened so quickly. And then they mention, Alex shows up at his house. He says, I killed my stepfather. If you see, he comes from an abusive home. His mother died some years ago, and his stepfather abuses him. But, yeah, and then Alex mentions, well, either Abel Plankoff has come back, or the evil soul isn't one of us. At this point, there's only 3 left. Alex, Bug, and Jerome. And Jerome is blind. You could say that he was faking it, which Jerome was played by Denzel Whitaker from All That. He was in the last season of the original All That. But or the first reboot of All That. I don't know, the one from 2005. But anyway, so that it's okay. That at that point you're kind of leaning towards it could be the real Abel Plankoff come back because it could be either them, the best friends, and it's it could be the sister. Probably no, she could have inherited it. Although, I don't know, she wasn't acting. She could have something. I don't know, and why Bug gets this? Maybe it's a male genetic thing. Who knows? And then she goes off on him about, it's in your blood, it's in your genetics, and it's it's in yours too. Maybe that's Alex's. Anyway. Bug goes to get Alex a glass of water, and he goes to the bathroom and finds the bloody knife. And when he goes back, Alex is gone. Oh no, what's going on? And then he goes downstairs and he finds the cop from earlier, who I forgot to mention is played by Frank Grillo, a younger Frank Grillo from 2010. And his aunt is dead. At some point before this, he finds out the truth from Fang, Leah, whatever, earlier. Leah was out in the car, and she comes in and saves Bug from the Ripper. Leah is knocked out cold, and Bug fights the Ripper. It's a pretty good fight. But Bug gets knocked down, and there's a noise from upstairs, so the Ripper runs upstairs. But Bug follows him and can't find him, but finds Jerome. Uh-oh. But he's been stabbed. Jerome explains that he tried to get through into the house by coming from the roof, but the Ripper was there and stabbed him, left him for dead. He was alive, he climbed through the window, and he crashed, and that's when the Ripper came up. Jerome dies, and then Alex comes through the window, and he explains that he heard the cops coming, the siren coming, and ran for the woods, thinking they were after him because they killed his stepfather. At this point, these are the only 2 that's left, and we have seen neither hide or hair of the original Abel Plankoff, so you're thinking it's one of those 2. And you're leaning towards Alex because you saw Bug fight the Ripper. But then Alex says this. He says, what if you're remembering things wrong? What if you've been the Ripper this whole time and you've been seeing things differently? Which is a good point, but they don't hold on it long enough. Because all of a sudden he's like, oh, well, because right then he talks to all the souls in his head and he's like, they're all with me now. Brittany's computing it. She says you could have reached there and got there. And Jerome says you attacked him and whatever, and then Brandon says it's this, and Penelope pointed out the thing it was planted in my sink or whatever, and it's like, okay, he's got all of them in his head, and so now so now there's no question that it's him. And yeah, he's the Ripper, but the Ripper is like 10 feet tall, so I don't know how that works. They say that he gets like, because he has the bad soul, he gets super strength, right? I guess. And I guess giving it to Alex is fine. I mean, Bug and Brandon would be too obvious. Maybe not. There is one point where you could actually think it was Brittany, because the Ripper calls Brandon from Brittany's phone, and you could think, oh, she's the Ripper. Fuck. And again, we saw her run from it, but she would know. You know? Yes. So it is Alex. They don't even have a big fight anymore. They had the big fight with the Ripper. They have a thing early where he's like, what do you got? Biggest knife in the kitchen. So he stabs him, and he looks, and he sees it's gone, and he goes, where's the biggest knife in the kitchen? Where it's supposed to be. And they have this thing they said earlier, Condor, Crow. He goes, Condor, Crow. And he dies. And this is what I like, the ending. Because it subverts your expectations. Because you think the cops are coming, dead people in his house, dead cop. The cop thought he was the killer, right? Cops are going to come and arrest him. But they don't do that. And if that was the ending, I would hate this movie. Because it'd be the most obvious way to take the film, and I would hate it. But what saves this movie for me is the ending. Because as he explains, he should have been arrested that night. Because, for all intents and purposes, everything pointed to him. But it was Leah's testimony to the cops, telling them that he saved her and what happened and the Ripper and everything, that saved him. So he was hailed as a hero. Although he says he's not a hero, kind of is. He saved his sister, that's about it. And himself, but yeah. Here's another thing I forgot to point out. The sister keeps saying that the Ripper is coming for us. Bitch, ain't no one coming for you. He's only going after the Riverton 7. Well, you killed the cop and the aunt and his stepdad. But, okay, maybe he could kill you, but you're not one of his intended targets, only if you're in the way. Who knows? But, yeah, and he's hailed as a hero. He says, I'll pretend. There's one thing I like, though, that Alex does. It's a way for him to deal with the constant bullying from Brandon, from his stepdad. Whenever he gets hit, punched, or whatever, he goes, thanks, that felt good. Deal with it, I guess. But, yeah. My soul to take. I'm gonna give it a middle of the road, because while I like the film, I feel that it has pacing issues. We don't get to know the characters enough before they're all killed off, and 3 of the characters are killed off like in succession. We don't get anything. One character's killed off before we even really know anything but his name, and that he likes to craft things. The Ripper as a character isn't really fleshed out, and we never really find out what happened to Abel Plankoff. Is he dead? Is he alive? We can assume he's dead because the souls are in each of the 7, and now they're all back where they're supposed to be. And that's another thing that's left unanswered. If all the souls return to Plankoff, to Adam, Bug, whatever, when they're killed, does that mean the bad soul goes into him as well? And it's going to start all over again? Or is the bad soul gone for good? That's not really answered. We don't really know. But, Yeah, middle of the road for sure. So, here we go. We bring the movies back up, and we take the dice. Okay, so I have added another movie to this, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12. Again, roll the dice. And we have, hold on, 6, right? 6, okay. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we have, okay, interesting. The Intruders. No, not the one with Dennis Quaid. And not the one with the weird house on the cover. It would be...
All the way down to the fucking bottom.
This one. A movie I bought from Family Video solely because Amanda Cosgrove from iCarly is on the cover. And I always think it's interesting when you're... the people you watch when you're younger on kids shows do more adult things, so I bought it. It's not a bad film, so I'm interested to check it out again, but that's the next one. So, what are your thoughts on my solo tape? Leave me comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.